Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Jamie. Doing pretty good. It's been an eventful time, and today's the final countdown. And voted today, got that done bright and early. Been playing, lots of good Xbox games, enjoying some movies. Just thrilled to be here. Life's going good over here. How about you, man? How are things across the pond?
Pretty good. I've been sick for 2.5 weeks.
Oof.
Yeah, this flu is just not going anywhere. But the show must go on. Other than that, though, it's been a good few weeks. We've had a bunch of really good gaming news stuff. And for people that's jumping into the podcast right now, I understand that like 90% of the people that watch this channel are actually from the US. So we won't be talking about politics. Just relax, because believe me, as someone that lives in the UK, the news. Oh my god! Like every. Bear in mind, the Twitter algorithm for me, I'm not even kidding, should just be cat videos and gaming stuff, right? And the algorithm is literally cat video, game stuff, election, cat video, election, video, like video game stuff. And it's like, just show me cats and games, man. um, but election stuff aside, it's actually been a good week for gaming. You know what? We'll get into what we've been playing. Logan, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I've been playing the Brotato expansion, the Terrors of the Abyss. I'm wrapping it up now. I've got a few characters left to beat with, and they unlock new items to use for your runs in the game. So it gives you even more reasons to play. And playing that, wrapped up the Shrek expansion for Power Wash Sim, which was hilarious, by the way. It was a really well done expansion. Did that, and I've been playing Madison. I'm almost at the end of the game. It is really, really hitting its stride and is truly terrifying. It's that game about the haunted camera I mentioned last time. So, about to wrap that up. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to jump into Black Ops 6 and Metaphor Refantasia. How about you, man? What you been playing?
Fallout 4. A lot of Fallout 4. I think I have a slight obsession with that game. It is
You
just.
find Sean yet?
No, no, screw that kid. Who cares? I'm just enjoying the wasteland. It's fun, the little secrets. There's these like several vaults throughout the entire game. Not vaults. I want to call them lock rooms, where you find like these letters that kind of point you towards a direction of someone being trapped. Maybe it's like a cellar underneath a hotel, or a safe room in a jewelry shop of a shopping mall, and you hear the story about this person being trapped, or these people. By the way, people in that universe are really unlucky. Keep getting stuck and like trapped in these like small rooms with no food or water. Unlucky, but the show must go on. And you just get these really cool side stories, and I really like that about Fallout 4. And yes, I am a bit of a nutcase for not playing this game for 9 years. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm loving it. I don't know if I said this since the last show. I bought the Game of the Year edition for like $8.99, I think, and I've got the game, on disc. I got the collector's edition at launch, and now I have the expansions, and I'm looking forward to going through them. Basically, I'm good with Fallout till like March or May 2025. But great.
No, don't let Howard hear you. Oh.
Yeah, but I love that game. It's so good. And I've also been playing Black Ops 6 all week. I've finished that game. We'll be talking about that in a bit. But I am very happy. That is a damn good campaign. I've got footage on screen right now. While I will save my impressions and, quote unquote review till the end of the show or later on, I got the best bug in that game. So in between each mission, you basically go back to your home base and you can buy these upgrades for your character. Maybe you want less vertical flinch. Maybe you want more health. Maybe you want the ability to carry multiple armor plates, much like you do in Warzone. And really cool upgrades. and you collect money throughout each mission, and then buy these upgrades in between missions. It's a great mission design. However, I had this random bug where I thought I must have collected $3,000 total. I had $1.16 billion. Best glitch ever. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how to replicate it, but hopefully other people get that too, because I was able to buy everything. And the multiplayer gun you can unlock, let me tell you, there's next to no recoil. Zip. And I've talked about this many times on the show, how my aiming isn't exactly the best because I took this really long hiatus from multiplayer. That gun helps. I think it's called the Ames 7 or something. It's white and orange, but oh my god, that has literally made me a better player in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And who knows, maybe one day I'll go back to a positive KD ratio. But I've been having fun with that. What else? Diablo 4. My god, that game's addictive. Like, I'm very much a casual Diablo player. I'll play it maybe half an hour here, an hour there. But I am terrible at that game. I don't care, but it's just so much fun, so addictive. So many little side quests all over the place. Like, Logan, did you get very far in Diablo? I know you were playing 3.
I haven't gotten to 4 yet, and I started 3, but I haven't gotten back to it. I kind of got swept up in some other games, but I do plan to get to it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with Diablo, speccing your character your way. I'm playing as Sorcerer, and the only thing I don't like about the Sorcerer class is the outfits, man. I
Oh,
look
the at-home wizard. Yeah.
Yeah, I look terrible. Like, no, I wish someone told me that the sorcerer class had the worst armor in the entire. Like, I'm walking around and I look like Will Ferrell from Elf. Terrible.
What's your favorite color? Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so annoying, and it's like I'm seeing these other characters go around as necromancers and barbarians, and they have these really cool armor pieces, and there I am looking like I'm gonna help Santa. It's awful, but outside of that, the game's fantastic. I have been looking at the armor shop, and they had some World of Warcraft themed armor in the store, but I'm thinking, am I that annoyed at how my character looks so much that I'm going to buy premium armor? Tempted, don't get me wrong, tempted because I look stupid. That's one of the reasons why I haven't been posting gameplay, because I look like a bloody clown.
You're ashamed.
Yeah, oh god, man, literally, I'm grinding my teeth playing Diablo, not because it's a bad game, it's because I look stupid, and I don't know what the Diablo devs were thinking. Like, hey, we're gonna make all these classes look amazing. Pick different armor pieces, helmet, chest, legs, whatever. You're gonna look cool. But by the way, the sorcerer class is gonna look stupid. I don't know what they were thinking. And other than that, oh yeah, Metro Exodus. I want to talk about this. So I posted a clip of the next gen upgrade the other day, and a bunch of people started asking me, like, did this just come out? Because it's a very fancy upgrade. In fact, I'm going to go out on the limb and say it's probably one of the best looking Xbox Series X games out there. And it was upgraded for free like 2 years ago. I only just got to it. And it's 4K, 60 FPS, HDR, and ray tracing all at the same time. And it is beautiful. Like, Logan, did you ever play Metro Exodus?
I actually have not played Exodus. I have the golden edition and all the expansions, but I haven't gotten to it. But I did play Metro 2020 or 23 and Last Light, and I absolutely loved them.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, Metro Exodus right now is currently on sale on Xbox, and you can also buy all 3 games heavily discounted. If I remember correctly, it's $2.99 for Metro Exodus, and I think it's $8.99 for the whole trilogy. And if I remember correctly, it's the gold edition of Metro Exodus, so you get the expansions as well. So if people are interested in Metro Exodus, yeah, hell of a deal. One of the best deals I've seen online for a while. So if people are interested in that franchise, go ahead. The first 2 Metro games are very much linear style games, but it works in their favor. Metro Exodus is actually, it's got both kinds of level design. You've got these open maps which are very expansive, lots of secrets, side quests, but you also have linear mission design, which is kind of in between the open segments. But what a game! Those aren't for the faint of heart. They are very challenging. Um, but what I did learn recently is that if you play through the third game, Metro Exodus, uh, on easy or lower, because I've been playing on normal, turns out it plays exactly the same. It's just you get more resources. So if people ever have trouble with that game, knock it down a notch, and it won't actually disturb any of the achievements outside of the play on realism achievement. So highly recommend people play that game. It's super cool. It's gritty. It is challenging, but it's worth it. I think it's one of the best first-person shooters in a long time when it comes to those style of games. And I think the Metro games are very underrated. Not a lot of people talk about them, but I mean, there's a bunch of new Metro stuff coming out soon. There's a Metro VR game, and we're also going to get a new Metro game announced in 2025. I'm guessing that's going to be a Game Awards thing, but who knows what's going to happen. But those devs, they clearly know what they're doing, and if they can make this game look mind-blowing on Series X with a free upgrade, I can only imagine what their next title is going to look like. My mind's just going to explode. It's going to be beautiful. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing. And we have like 50,000 game topics to talk about, so let's get into it. Now, we've got some good stuff to talk about. So Assassin's Creed, I want to talk about this quickly. Now, Assassin's Creed is it's one of my favorite franchises. That might surprise people, but it is. It's had its ups and downs, but who really cares? There's been good games, there's been bad games. There's been some amazing games like Assassin's Creed 4 that has its own fan base. I mean, that game was so big to the point where Ubisoft in Singapore basically invested $800 million into Skull and Bones. Don't know what they were thinking with that. But like, I love Assassin's Creed, and it's had its ups and downs recently. Mainly with media portrayal and how people have reacted to things. Although I do think Assassin's Creed Shadows looks beautiful. That game looks phenomenal. And they've added more stealth elements, which I've wanted added to the franchise for a really long time. Well, it turns out that we have the first super chat of the day by your baby father. Thank you very much for the $20. He says, "Greetings, guys. What's up, chat? Always great tuning in to some chill Xbox gaming." Well, thank you very much. That's greatly appreciated, and it goes towards making the show and channel even better. I mean, that's one of the things I like about this this podcast. It is chill. There's so many different podcasts I've tuned into in the past, and people arguing. And that is just not a good audio experience. Like, people bickering back and forth. Like, I don't get it. It's gaming at the end of the day. We're meant to enjoy it. We see all these negative gaming articles all the time, every single day. And it's a hobby we're meant to enjoy. People actively get angry about this genre. And, like, literally, that is the whole point of gaming. You sit down, you enjoy a game. You enjoy a great story, maybe play some great multiplayer while talking to people, or just relax and playing some chill game. And I think too many people have forgotten that, to the point where, like, literally, there's a lot of gaming content online that's just bickering. It's just arguing, and it's very tiresome. I don't know how people put up. Yeah, I don't know how people put up with it. Like, back in like 2000, I want to say, 2017, maybe a little bit before that. Like, I would listen to, I'm not even kidding, like two gaming podcasts a day, and I got to a point where I realized, like, it's just angry people yelling at each other. That is not entertaining. And we spend all year talking about these leaks and these upcoming games, and when those games come out, people don't talk about them outside of Metacritic scores, and that annoys the living hell out of me. It's like, I talk about upcoming games on my channel, and then I want to talk about those games when they've came out and I've played them. And too many people have missed that, and I think gaming needs more positivity. And there's more to gaming than the argument we see right now. Like Logan, you have to admit the toxic situation we see online is just a bit overblown.
I mean, yeah, it's always been. I mean, people run around like, you know, rabid animals and are just like screaming and frothing at the mouth and like the end is nigh, or like any any criticism or suggestion to improve a platform or ecosystem or console experience, bring games over, do this, do that, is met with fierce, vitriol, and people treat these like holy crusades for, relics instead of, we're just a bunch of people that have a hobby and we like to play them and talk about them, and we play our games on these plastic devices or TVs or phones or wherever you play games, and that's it. It's not, some mandate thing, and it just gets wild and people lose sight of that. And that's another reason why I love our show so much, because our show is just a couple friends sitting and having a fireside chat basically about something we both enjoy, and we just talk about the latest things and shoot the stuff, and it's fun.
Yep. And thank you for the 20-year baby. It's greatly appreciated. Um, but the whole Assassin's Creed thing I want to talk about because it kind of made headlines the other day, and I saw some like really big reactions to it. And I get it. Like as soon as you hear what 10 Assassin's Creed games in 5 years. Now that don't get me wrong, no matter which way you cut it, that is a lot, right? There's only so much time in the year. Like, I can't play that many Assassin's Creed games. In fact, I don't even want that many Assassin's Creed games in 5 years. But, and the story was brought by Tom Henderson, who has had a lot of these things correct in the past. But I think that if you take the headline, not really look at what's actually out there, people might just run with it in the wrong way. I can't speak all of a sudden. So basically, at the minute, Assassin's Creed used to be a yearly annual franchise. You get Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Revelations 3, 4. The list goes on, and then they switched to they start releasing games every other year. So we got Assassin's Creed Origins in 2017, fantastic game, and then we got Assassin's Creed Odyssey in 2018, 2019, one of the two. And great game. The extra time clearly showed that it's helping the franchise. And then with Valhalla, Valhalla was insanely huge, but you have to remember, we were all stuck in the house, right? Like, a lot of people were bored out of their mind, wanting more video games, and Valhalla, that did really well, especially during, the third lockdown in the UK. Well, the expansions of previous Assassin's Creed games start selling really well. Odyssey start charting again, even though it was an older title. And then Ubisoft start looking at, well, we're not putting out content for these older games anymore. So what the hell are we going to do about it? So that's when Ubisoft start looking at how can they have Ubisoft Assassin's Creed as a platform where they would supply each Assassin's Creed title with yearly content, and you'd keep those fan bases happy, right? And from the outset, it does seem pretty good idea. The problem with that is that you're going to oversaturate the market with Assassin's Creed, and they're starting this right now with the multiple games a year thing. So as of 2025, there's going to be Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I think looks fantastic, and I can't wait to play it. I mean, hell, how many Assassin's Creed fans have really been wanting, feudal Japan? Right? We've been wanting that for years, and we're finally getting it. But we're also getting Assassin's Creed Invictus next year, which is apparently the multiplayer game. So, we can put that to the side, because I wasn't the biggest fan of Assassin's Creed multiplayer. I know it has its fan base, but not for me. Not anymore. But we also have Assassin's Creed Jade, which is the China Assassin's Creed game. By the way, it actually looks really good, and that's going to be a mobile-only title, which I have a sad face about. And, that'll be really cool. But at the end of next year, we get an Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag remake. Now, I haven't seen a single frame of this. I haven't seen a GIF, footage, or anything. And I'm gonna be a complete hypocrite and say I'm buying it day one. Like, I loved Assassin's Creed 4. I think Assassin's Creed 4 it's fantastic. But if you go back and play an old Assassin's Creed game, you'll notice within maybe 5 seconds that something feels weird. And it's the fact that you can't crouch. It feels so weird playing a stealth game when you can't crouch. And as someone that likes to go back and replay in older games, let me tell you, it feels weird. So you only
Kind
crouch.
defeats the purpose of
Yeah,
stealth if you can't crouch.
yeah, like especially if you play Assassin's Creed 2 or like the first one, you're literally going in stealth, just walking, trying to like hide behind walls and stuff. And that's before you had dynamic cover. So it was really weird. And like all they really need to do is make it prettier, and put in the ability to crouch, and maybe dynamic cover when it comes to like short walls and stuff. So like I'm okay with them putting that many games out next year, but I think if people believe that they're going to put 5 big Assassin's Creed games out every year, that's not going to happen. Assassin's Creed Hex is going to be apparently the last big Assassin's Creed game, and then we're going to go back to having smaller ones like Assassin's Creed 2 and 3 and 4 and stuff. And I'm completely fine with that. Ubisoft was at its best when they were putting out those kinds of games. So for me, I'm actually excited about Assassin's Creed as a future. But like they haven't all been perfect. Don't get me wrong. I have every Assassin's Creed game, and I've played some amazing ones. Like I will say this: Assassin's Creed Unity was broken at launch. Hell, remember all the thumbnails where the dude didn't have any faces? Like that was weird. That was nightmare material, and it still is. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Do you know how excited I was to have an Assassin's Creed game set in the UK, and then it came out and it was boring mission design. Like I was genuinely sad. I was like, it's great. A game is finally set here, and it's boring. Legitimately boring. Cool characters, beautiful world, decent combat, but boring. And give me a questionnaire after each mission saying, hey, out of 5 stars, what would you rate this? It's like, Ubisoft, you aren't paying me to do this, are you now? But all in all, I think the Assassin's Creed thing, I think people can calm down about. It's not as bad as people let it out to be. Like, Logan, what's your thought on this? Because personally, I love Assassin's Creed, and I like the fact that next year we are going to get Shadows, and the remake of 4.
Yeah, I'm kind of. It's a mixed bag to me
Yeah.
personally. Like, I love the old school Assassin's Creed. Like, especially as someone who's a fan of medieval era and Renaissance era. I loved like the the Crusades, Holy War era, like Jerusalem and Middle East and stuff in the first one, and like Renaissance Italy and France in the second one. And then, Revolutionary War was cool in the third one. And then the fourth one, I think, really does stand out. Like, you could have just taken Assassin's Creed off of it, and it was the coolest pirate game I ever played in my life. I love that game so much. Conway was a really great character. Adewale as your, first mate. It was a really enjoyable story and gameplay. I loved the legendary ship hunts where you had to
Oh yeah.
fight the other ships, or the hunting for the legendary beasts. Like eventually you find Moby Dick or a Kraken type thing, and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. It was so cool. By far my I think by far my favorite one.
Yeah.
And
4
so
was good.
an idea of a remake of it sounds awesome. And sign me up, and I can't wait for that. Shadows, I'll play. I won't be day one, but I'll play it. I'm not interested in the multiplayer one, but Hex I am, because the idea of werewolves and witches and vampires and folklore in Assassin's Creed, I'm really curious to see what they're cooking with that.
Yeah. Like the Assassin's Creed multiplayer thing. I used to try and get back into that. like back in the day, and I just couldn't. It's not for me. Like you spend half like pretending to be an NPC in a video game sounds cool as a concept, but it was executed badly. And by the way, one of the multiplayer projects that's apparently at Ubisoft for Assassin's Creed, I'm not even kidding, is apparently like Fall Guys. Like I play Fall Guys. I don't know how do you do that with assassins? Like like
Fall into hay barrels, or
yeah, I just don't know what they'll do with that. But I wish them success. And look, I think they really need to come out with more franchises again. Like Watch Dogs, that deserved better, that franchise. You know, it was one of the few GTA quote unquote competitors. I'm doing air quotes. But like Watch Dogs, the first game had an interesting story. The second game, beautiful world. They really needed to give that a 1x patch, but it never did. And it didn't really get much support afterwards. And then Watch Dogs Legion. Watch Dogs Legion is beautiful. Like, and some of the mission design in that is like really fun. But the fact that you didn't really play it as a set character really got to people. Like, you couldn't really attach yourself to someone, which annoyed me a bit. But like the world they created, the gameplay, like I basically played as John Wick in that game, and it was phenomenal. I had a bunch of like free content post launch and premium expansions. I just think that Ubisoft needs to they need to stop relying on Assassin's Creed too much, because they blatantly are. I know when EA talks about their investors calls, like they basically come out and say, hey, they make nearly all of their money with FIFA, and that's why they can put money into other, maybe risky projects, because they have the spare money. That's kind of like Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed. They make enough sales off that one game every year or every time one comes out, and they are set. But like they have, I think, 20,000 developers under Ubisoft. Like that's crazy. Like I don't know. I just wish them the best, and I think maybe focusing too much on Assassin's Creed like that isn't the best move. But hey, I could be wrong, and I'd happily be wrong. The more good Assassin's Creed, the better, in my opinion, which is a win for everyone. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll talk about this quickly. So it just came out today, and I know there's people listening that do play this, that Star Wars Outlaws is getting some major updates this month. I believe it said the 25th of November, where they are going to patch everything: combat, stealth, vehicle mechanics, enemy AI. It looks like they're basically overhauling most of the gameplay, shall I say. And honestly, as someone that hasn't played it yet, so I don't have an opinion, it looks like they are fixing everything people have had a problem with, which is really good. They have a new creative director now, which surprised me today, because typically you don't get a creative director 4 months after a game comes out. Oh yeah, 21st of November. But that's pretty soon, right? For a big patch like that. And I saw a lot of confusion online, like why would they have a new creative director? It's because Ubisoft's games pretty much sell throughout the year, unless it's called Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora that gets no marketing. But like Star Wars Outlaws is going to sell perfectly fine for the next couple of years regularly. And I think Ubisoft, they actually know that, so they're going to give Star Wars Outlaws the time and love it deserves, because like it's their first major Star Wars game and the first open world Star Wars game. So like they want this to be a success, not just in the short term, but in the long term. And I think that's a win for everyone. They have premium expansions on the way. I know one either just came out or is about to come out, which is about sabacc and gambling and all that stuff. Really cool stuff. Like Logan, I know you haven't played it yet, but I know you were waiting for some of the stuff to be patched.
yeah, this is music to my ears because I'm a diehard Star Wars guy, and it pains me, but I sat this one aside because I don't know, I just had some bad vibes about it. And then turns out, there was some things that were in it that weren't what people wanted, but there was also like a lot of good in it, to where it's like there's clearly something here that we can build from and grow and turn into like the truly special Star Wars experience that everyone deserves. And I'm glad that Ubisoft is actually, you know, taking the time and effort to do that and to focus on this one and to bring in a new creative director, a new fresh set of eyes, and to listen to all the feedback and make changes and really go in on it and make new story content and fixes. And I can't wait. I'm excited. And it's definitely one I'll probably pick up in a holiday sale because I've been wanting to play it. I was just waiting until they fixed a few annoying nuances, but sounds like that'll be done soon. Can't wait.
Yeah, we have some breaking news right now, and this leaked about 7 minutes ago. Warcraft 2 Remastered just leaked. Um, so that is,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Warcraft 2. Is
I'm
it PC only or
It doesn't say. It's just a bunch of leaked images and the logo. I mean, look, we're going to talk about this next anyway with StarCraft. So StarCraft is coming to the Windows Store and Xbox Game Pass, and a lot of people wondering like, what about Xbox? Like, I'm one of the 8 people online that wants more RTS games on console, and these would help. I've like Star. I know enough about StarCraft to know it would work on a controller. 2D RTS games just do work. Look at Age of Empires, Age of Mythology. Those are perfect examples of a transition from a mouse and keyboard to a controller. I mean, hell, Halo Wars. That's another example. Um, StarCraft would work. It would work, and hopefully that'll come over. But yeah, Warcraft 2 leaks, Warcraft 2 Remastered, which I honestly didn't think would happen considering what happened with the first game. But hey, good news. Hopefully it comes to Xbox. And I think considering we have seen more recent RTS games, I think we could see it. Like, Logan, I know you want to talk about StarCraft 2, but now that we have this Warcraft information, what do you think?
that's awesome news. Like I'm personally someone who's been wanting the Warcraft games, the StarCraft games, like even Diablo 1 if they wanted to. And then, like Hexen, Heretic, like all their older stuff, like bring it over. Put it on consoles. Like just to be blunt, I don't buy the notion that they can't get this thing to work on console. I think that's ridiculous. Clearly they can. You have StarCraft 64 from the 90s that was, I know it's slightly different, whatever, but still, if you can get a StarCraft experience on that three-legged abomination of a controller, you can get a StarCraft experience on an Xbox Series controller. One of the best gamepads ever made. Like, and you have Age of Empires, the whole collection is doing well on Xbox with controller or keyboard and mouse, whichever you prefer. They clearly have success with that. Age of Mythology has been doing great. You have other RTSs and Game Pass and coming to the platform all the time. Like, clearly, they can work. It's just effort and getting it done. But I'm with you. I want more of these on the platform. This is good news, and I will continue to fight the fight for StarCraft because there are few things that annoy me more as an Xbox fan that than when Game Pass is promoting stuff or showing stuff and talking about things coming, and then it's actually just for PC and it's not actually coming to Xbox itself. And like, I know they want to bring their games to more places, and I have mixed feelings about that for other platforms, but for cloud and phone and PC or portable, whatever, that's cool. I'm cool with it. But the idea of you wanting to make all your stuff playable anywhere, yet you won't bring some of these iconic games to your own console, that's just farcical to me. Like you can make it work. Come on now. Let's get this done, please.
Yeah. Honestly, I'll make a little prediction right now. I think, obviously these ports take a while. I honestly believe, they wanted StarCraft in Game Pass for PC and on the Windows Store. I honestly think they'll get all this, the porting done for Gamescom next year. Because
Oh, I like
RTS games, like, by the way, if anyone's listening, next time Gamescom comes around and you see a live stream of people walking on Gamescom, look at all the signs and like the big not monitors, projection screens of like all the games that's been shown there. While E3 you have things like Call of Duty, Halo, like basically the big blockbuster games, right? At Gamescom you'll have like Farming Simulator. Football Manager. In Football Manager, it basically looks like a spreadsheet, but my God, it sells millions. But yeah, like those are the types of games like they do really good in Europe. Super hardcore games like Stalker, obviously going to be huge in Europe. Your sim games such as Farming Simulator, like really think about Farming Simulator is one of the best selling games almost every single year. Nobody talks about it. Like crazy, really. But RTS games, like it's huge for Europe, and like that's where they've saved several of the Age of Empires and Age of Mythology stuff in the past. So yeah, I honestly think that'll happen. I think StarCraft makes too much sense. They have to bring it over, and plus they're also making a StarCraft shooter. And if they don't put a StarCraft shooter on a console, they've lost the plot. Thankfully,
What are we even doing here?
yeah, and
the shooter box.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, like ever since the whole ABK deal was first announced, like that was the first thing I was posting about. I want a third-person StarCraft shooter, and if that gets announced and it's just for PC, rage. I'll rage. I'll write an angry letter in bold font. But yeah, I think that stuff will come. Just going to take a while. But yeah, Warcraft 2 Remastered. That looks like it's coming. Considering the kind of strategy game that is, I don't see why they can't bring that to console at some point. Again, my bet is that it's going to be a Gamescom thing. But I'm sure Warcraft 2 Remastered will be huge on PC whenever that comes out. I know Blizzard just had their thing a few months back, so who knows? It might even be a Game Awards thing because they do announce a lot of PC stuff there as well, so who knows? I think it's cool that just another thing randomly leaks. And by the way, if anyone from Microsoft or Activision's listening, you guys published Star Trek Armada back in the day. One of the best RTS games I've ever played in my entire life. I no-lifed that game as a kid to the point where I literally played multiplayer matches that lasted 3.5 hours long. Like, sitting there, sweating it out, trying to beat the other opponent with my fleets of, Starfleet vessels. Amazing game. Is it the ultimate nerd game? Possibly. But what a game. And little fun fact about that game back in the day. The first game, when it launched, came with a demo for Star Trek Armada 2. To this day, I still don't know how that happened. Like, what happened there? If any developer listens to this, I want to know why it came with a demo for the sequel. That's not how games work. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's see what we've got next. Okay, we'll talk about this quickly because my obsession with Mass Effect is publicly known at this point. So Mass Effect 4, which people keep calling Mass Effect 5, it turns out N7 Day is just a few days away, and a lot of people are getting the hopes up like it's Christmas Eve and they're going to get something really fancy for Christmas. And BioWare basically told us to lower our expectations. Now, for me, honestly, I'm not actually that bothered. They just put out a brand new game with Dragon Age the Veilguard. They're literally patching that game right now, so all hands on deck. But they've already confirmed Veilguard isn't getting expansions. So like all of the development is, or say all the development tools, power, and people are going straight to Mass Effect. Which means it won't be as far off as people think, I think. But basically, I think on N7 Day, we aren't going to get a fancy CGI trailer. I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're just going to get things like concept art, maybe some new merch. And I get it. I'm like part of the 1% of people that genuinely cares about this stuff. I'm not that sad about it. It is what it is. let's be real. Mass Effect 4 is like 5 years away, max 3 minimum. And I'm being generous saying 3. I wish it was 3. It won't be. Um, just expect concept art. And hell, I'll happily eat my own words. If they want to come out with a fancy CGI trailer, be my guest. That's just more content. Logan, I know you aren't exactly as obsessed as me, but N7 Day this year looks like it's going to be fairly chill.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. They're like you said, they're still years out from anything really heavy for that franchise. I love Mass Effect. I'm not quite a Mass Effect apostle like you, but I I really like Mass Effect, and I'm excited for it. I hope they really deliver for Mass Effect 4, and who knows, they'll probably just give us a Mass Effect companion body pillow announcement or something like that. That'll probably be the reveal.
Well, they already announced the body pillow.
Oh, they did.
yeah, yeah,
That's funny.
yeah.
I
So,
didn't know that.
so as a meme, because Garrus is such a beloved character. About a year ago, they did come out with a Garrus body pillow. uh, and
That's hilarious.
what's funny is people bought the thing. Like, of course they did. I mean, I shouldn't expect any less.
Was it spiky?
No, it was just a regular body pillow, just with a picture of Garrus on.
Oh, okay.
But still, that doesn't make it any better. That's people buying a Garrus themed, you know, pillow. That's just strange. I mean, hell, if they sold a Liara pillar or a Jack pillar, I'd be just as furious. Who knows? We'll never know. Anyway, yeah. So N7 Day, it looks like we're not getting much this year. But hey, look, I'm fine with it. I think concept art is perfectly fine. The funny thing is, people have replied to me saying, "No, they want gameplay." Like, I wish I was as optimistic as you. I wish my house was made of chocolate and I could leave my front door unlocked at night. But that's not being real. But hey, it's years away. But I was actually surprised to find out that they're not doing any expansions for Dragon Age. So I think if you look at Dragon Age, it's actually a complete game. Some people don't really like the idea of expansions. For me, I like the idea of extending a game. But hey, and hopefully I should be getting to Dragon Age fairly soon, because again, that is a level-based RPG, and we don't get many of those. Just putting it out there. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's see. Oh, Logan, you want to talk about this? The Genshin Impact devs may be bringing another game to Xbox.
Yeah, apparently it leaked yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, that this leaker who has a Reddit about, everything gotcha games from this company and is a known leaker and stuff, had found some filings and stuff that suggest that Zenless Zone Zero will arrive to Xbox in the near future. And it might be a Game Awards announcement, which I know we all know Jeff is going to be so excited to talk about it. He he was jumping for joy with Genshin Impact, so I can only imagine his ravishment for this one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's like a more sci-fi kind of version of a waifu collector, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, Genshin Impact is more like Zelda fantasy and stuff, and this is more sci-fi esque. But then there's also Hoyoverse, which may or may not come as well. So keep your eyes out and your ears to the ground. It sounds like more gacha games are coming to the platform.
Yeah, I mean, it's sci-fi. I haven't seen a single frame of it, but I'm already sold. Like, I'm a bit of a simp for sci-fi, so I'll take it. I know what you got mixed up there, Logan. Hoyo versus the developer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but they also make the train game. I always get it mixed up.
Honkai Star
Yeah,
Rail.
yeah,
That's what I was.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm.
the developers of Genshin Impact make the direct competitor to Genshin Impact with Honkai Star Rail, where you have all these, characters with different star ratings and stuff. Honestly, yeah, that's kind of bold of a developer. We have the market locked on this particular game, Genshin Impact. Let's make something else that's going to directly compete with it. Like that is like some 5D level chess move by these developers. It just proves like how much like they were raking that money in during the pandemic. By the way, like it was like number one on the App Store in the UK. I think it was like number one on Switch and all that stuff. And it's an insanely popular game, which kind of really annoys me. Why when that game was announced for Xbox at Gamescom, Jeff Keighley just said it out of the side of his mouth like it was nothing. Oh yeah, Genshin Impact, it's coming to that. It's called an Xbox, right? That's how it sounded. It's like, be professional, dude. You'll write 14 posts about a PlayStation 5 Pro, and you'll like mumble out the side of your mouth about Genshin Impact, a game that people have been begging to come to Xbox for 5 years. But hey, that comes to Xbox in, let me check, 15 days. So not long to wait. Personally, I'm looking forward to it, and it is free to play for people listening. But there is a sort of a perk pack you can get if you get the $10 pre-order stuff. And I think there's also going to be a Game Pass specific perk, which you'll be able to unlock when that game comes out. But hey, 15 days from now. I'm looking forward to it. Literally, the gameplay looks exactly like Breath of the Wild, which I'm perfectly fine with. I think, clearly people are okay with that game. But what's funny is whenever I see people talk about Genshin Impact, it's never gameplay clips. It's people unlocking characters. The waifu collector, literally, that's how people treat it, which I think is hilarious, because you have this game that has this, amazing gameplay, and it's wrapped up in great visuals, but people are more concerned about characters they unlock, which I just think's funny. And the fact that the fan base got really angry when Hoyoverse gave Honkai Star Rail players a free character. Like, they felt abandoned. If people ever get bored, just look up the drama on that. It was amazing. Like, as someone that doesn't concentrate on Genshin Impact coverage, that was very entertaining to watch. Anyway, we'll move on. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about this. So the AAA game industry is it's in a weird spot at the minute, because I feel like developers, and this isn't just live service stuff. I think, and this is me also going back to the 7th gen thing. We got all these like really cool games all the time with sequels each generation. Like I've posted about this on Twitter a million times. Like back on the 7th generation, if you played a game and you liked it, and it became really popular and got a sequel, there was a chance you got that sequel 2 years later. And I think, we took that for granted back then, because we had 3 Arkham games, 3 Dead Space games, 3 Bioshock games, 3 Mass Effect games. Oh my god, we're so lucky.
We were so naive.
Yeah,
Yes.
and now it's like, what, we get 1 GTA every decade and a half, basically. What else? We get 1 Battlefield game every 3 years, and it may or may not be good. Mass Effect is years away. My God, kill me now. Call of Duty, thankfully, is year. By the way, people make fun of Call of Duty as a yearly franchise. Do you have any idea how grateful I am to have this yearly franchise where I have this linear-based campaign which I can have fun with? My God, like I love that. But
Amen.
yeah, but like the game industry is in a weird place at the minute. I think there's too much focus on making everything photorealistic. There's too much focus on making everything open world. And like, look at Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Look at the reception of that game, and all of the positive reviews called it the exact same thing. It's a 360 game, and truth is, it does play and feel like a 360 game, just on steroids, and it works so well for that game. Like, Owen, did you play? Oh, you played Space Marine 2, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's it and Crow Country are currently my co-games of the year right now.
Oh wow.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, Space Marine 2 was special, and I know the developer came out and he was talking about how like the game was just designed to be fun, and I think more games just
Imagine that.
yeah, like games just need to be fun. They don't need to send a message, and that's a story for another day. But you know, the thing we had with 360 games, or back in the seventh generation, like games were just fun. A game would release, people would buy it, they'd have fun with it, and a lot of those single player games got expansions. Hell, GTA 4 had expansions. Like that's crazy to think about, and it's unfortunate we don't get them anymore. Red Dead Redemption had a single player expansion. Bioshock
I
Infinite,
love Handheld.
yeah. Oh my god. But like Bioshock expansions, basically like Mass Effect expansions, and like now, like I can only look at Space Marine 2 really and think, that's a game. It came out with a bunch of content. It's getting free content. It's also going to get premium content. It did so well. This modern 360 game that took 3 years to make, and they are contemplating coming out with single player expansions. I think they pretty much are, all but confirmed. And they're already talking about Space Marine 3. All because they came out with a modern 360 game based on a property that most people would be considered as niche, right? Like the ultimate nerd franchise, Warhammer 40k. They made mainstream in video games. Like that's crazy. Like I know people that have like no interest in Warhammer whatsoever, eating up Space Marine 2. And that just goes to people wanting to buy good games. It doesn't matter if it's Space Marine, Star Trek, whatever. I think if it's fun, it'll sell. The marketing around that game was like, hey, you shoot lots of enemies, and then do you know what you do? Shoot more enemies, and that's all you do in that game. And that's all you need to do in that game. It's not overly complicated.
Life is simple.
Yeah, it's simple, and like it has a PvP mode, which Logan, did you play the PvP in Space Marine 2?
I haven't played the PvP. I've done the operations, but I haven't gone against people. No.
Yeah, so the operations mode, the PvE stuff, that stuff's fun. It's basically an extension of the campaign. It's getting a free horde mode next year. So like considering that game throws thousands of enemies at you, that's gonna be fun. It's gonna look absolutely nuts. The PvP, like I'll put it like this: I've played one match. Never again. There's two.
You got murked.
Yeah, I got absolutely destroyed. Like I'm not even kidding. My team score I think was 8, and I think the other team was like 210 or something like that.
Ooh,
Yeah, yeah. Like we were demolished, absolutely demolished, and like I just thought I'm never playing that again. But I honestly think that the Gears of War multiplayer community kind of shifted over. That was the vibe I was getting. But either way, it's a great game. It's going to do even better over Christmas and stuff. Like that's going to be a huge Christmas seller as well. I just think you're seeing all these studios shut down. Concord, the developer, shut down. I think the Nightingale studio shut down recently, I believe. Like all these developers are just shutting down because they're putting out these big games with lofty ideas. They're not selling, and the games that do sell either like something that looks like Vampire Survivors, which is this. Let's be honest, it looks like an original NES game, but it won Game of the Year at the BAFTA Game Awards, and you have
it rocks.
Yeah, and you have these like 360 games, modern 360 games, which people have all eyes on. Hell, I keep talking about a game that comes out next year called Spine, which is a third-person gun-fu video game. And like even the developers have said themselves, yeah, it's a 360 game. Like that's where we are now with video games. Like yes, I think having these fancy graphics, and I honestly begin to think that ray tracing is kind of overrated. There's not many, executions of ray tracing I think looks good. Like on console, I can think of a few. Watch Dogs Legion, Metro Exodus. But like, do we really need ray tracing? Not really. Does every game need to look like Hellblade? No. Like Space Marine 2 is a phenomenal looking game, but nobody really talks about how good it looks. People just talk about how fun it is. And I think we need more than that. More than that. More of that in gaming. I'm all over the place today, but it's sad seeing all these studios shut down constantly because do you know how many games we've had cancelled over the past several years? Not even talking about first party stuff, but look at like Deus Ex, right? We had a full Deus Ex game cancelled because Embracer didn't really want to fund it. Do you know how heartbreaking that is to me? I could cry. Big man tears. And, that's happening every single bloody week. And it's really annoying. Like, Logan, what's your take on this? Because, like, Space Marine 2 having this huge success and it's just a modern 360 game. And you have all these other studios shutting down. And you have these big ideas, but nobody's buying them.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's as simple as less is more. Like you get so convoluted and bogged down and like trying to make everything so grand and scope and like I need a lot of this, I need a lot of that, and I don't care, we're gonna mash up all these genres, or the lights have to be just the certain way and the colors, we need to fit this trope in, we need to get, they start going on a checklist instead of like sitting down and like, what's a fun idea? What's something people enjoy? What's a tried and true method that we could expand or make different or, yada, yada, yada. It feels more like got corpo guys in a back room, like checking, giving a checklist out that needs to hit these certain thresholds to make certain money to make the shareholders happy instead of like what do the gamers want, what do the actual customers want, what is tried and true good, or what is a creative new idea that steps outside the box that isn't so 100% focused on stuff. Because if you're having games like, I know Concord is like the biggest flop in gaming history, basically. Like the idea of a game taking 8 years to build, cost 400 million, and then shut down within 2 weeks is like insanity. That's like massive Hollywood blockbuster money, all kinds of stuff, franchises. So the idea of going back to a simpler time, like you have Oblivion, you have, you know, um, Half Life, you have all these other classic iconic games that came out 360 OG era and stuff, and they do well and they push the bar visually and creatively and all the gameplay wise and all these other things, but they weren't like quote real looking. Like you get to a point where it gets like almost like uncanny valley, and I think we should focus less on realism and more on creativity and fun. And like, there are some things, frankly, that I think are prettier with an art style or kind of an odd take on something than photorealism. It's like, not everything has to be a certain way. Or if you want them to be that way, be prepared to wait a long time because you this is not a have your cake and eat it too situation.
Yeah. I think maybe it's because time's getting on, but like, I, honestly, I wish developers. I'm not even kidding. Just took a step back with the graphics. Like, be
Yeah.
more manage money better. Like, because like I talk about the seventh gen all the time because I think that generation of games have aged beautifully. And like, if you look at the remasters of
Hmm.
games that came out that generation, like look at BioShock, the collection. Return to Arkham, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. You have these really good remasters that basically, they still look like 360 games, but the 4K, the 60, the cleaner graphics. But like, I don't want everything to look photorealistic, and I think like there's a lot of people that kind of have this pushback when they hear Unreal Engine now because a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games look the same. you know. Whereas if you go back to the seventh generation, like everything looks different. Like look at all across all three platforms. The Zelda games on the Wii, Uncharted. The original Uncharted on PlayStation 3 is not photorealistic. It's colorful, it's vibrant, you know, and that works for that game. On the 360, look at things like, Batman Arkham Asylum, Gears of War, Halo. Like, these games looked good, but none of them tried to be photorealistic. And thankfully, we got games every couple of... Like, look at Halo. In that generation, we got Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, Halo 4, Halo Reach, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. Like, we had five bloody Halo games, not including the RTS games. And, like, that was magical. And, like, the years we have between Halo games now, it's like, it's going to be like 4 or 5, which is sad. But, yeah, just thought I'd mention that because I hate talking about the studios closing down every single week. And it just seems like it's a never-ending cycle. But, yeah, just thought I'd bring it up. Before we continue, and now we're into the show. If you're enjoying it, please like, share, and subscribe. It really does help with the algorithm. Even though I hate doing these little ads, it does help the channel out. And all that stuff. And if you want to support the channel with super chats, all that stuff's appreciated. It goes back into the channel. Anyway, let's talk about Call of Duty Black Ops 6 because I finished it and I want to talk about it. Now, Logan, you haven't touched the campaign yet, right?
I have not, but I've heard great things and I'm excited to dive in. Want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so no spoilers at all for this. I'll say this: it's one of the best campaigns in years.
Okay,
So
great.
so as you know, Modern Warfare 3 last year was, let's say, a bit short, to say the least. It was a very short campaign. It was originally going to be an expansion, and it felt like it. But this Call of Duty has had the longest development time. So I was hoping, like, can you actually feel that while playing this game? And yeah, you can. It's a pretty long campaign compared to previous Call of Duties. And one, the stealth missions. Call of Duty, I'd say, it has at least one stealth mission per game. And I want to say this game has 3, where 2 of which you can go guns blazing if you want. So if you just want to say screw the rules and like let the corpses fly, you can do that. And when it comes to open mission design, this game does have it. So whereas it is a linear game like previous Call of Duties, it kind of ditches the open mission design which Modern Warfare 3 had. I think Modern Warfare 3 implemented open mission design in a really bad way. Black Ops 6 has essentially one open world mission, but it's designed so well. Basically, you're given 3 main objectives and maybe, I want to say, 10 side objectives. So you can have this, let's say, 20-minute main mission. Or, if you want to play it in stealth like me, you can turn this 20-minute mission into one of the most satisfying 2.5-hour stealth experiences in any video game ever. It was basically its own game, this one particular game. I think it was called Hunting Season. Really well done mission design. The linear game stuff for the rest of the game is great. The action set pieces are some of the best we've had in Call of Duty, I want to say, since Infinite Warfare. Vehicle sections are in this game, much like pretty much every other Call of Duty game. Really good here. The visuals are top notch. The combat is excellent. Having the omnidirectional movement in the campaign, I was thinking it wouldn't really pay off. However, it does. There's parts of this game where basically levels have multiple different floors, and you can jump out of windows while shooting backwards. It's crazy. You can basically act like Max Payne, but in the campaign, and it works so well. And I'm actually really happy as a Call of Duty campaign fan because it delivers on all fronts. Again, no spoilers, but this game actually has new gameplay mechanics which we've never seen in Call of Duty before. It has, and I'm sure for people that have played it, there's certain missions in this game that are unexpected for a Call of Duty game. What can I say? It's some of the most fun I've had in Call of Duty since Infinite Warfare. It does kind of remind me of Infinite Warfare in the freedom of choice when it comes to how you approach certain missions, which I really like. The stealth missions in this game are actually really fun. So in the past, they can be, if you get spotted once, the mission's over. It does have that, but the game has more refined stealth elements, so you can put people in lockers, you can lockpick doors. There's stealth traps you can put down which electrocute enemies. Honestly, I'm not even lying. This might actually be top 3 best campaigns of all time. Like,
That's high praise, my
yeah,
friend.
and like if people have been following me on Twitter for more than 5 minutes, I talk about Infinite Warfare maybe every week. I think Infinite Warfare is one of the best designed campaigns they've ever done. For me, it might actually be Modern Warfare 2, the original, Infinite Warfare, and this. I might have to think about it and replay the original, but it's one of the best campaigns out there. And if people are listening that do have Game Pass or, maybe you're new to the franchise, it's a hell of a campaign to jump into. The story is interesting. You can play it without playing the previous Black Ops games, but I highly recommend at least playing, Cold War. Cold War basically leads right into this, and for the love of God, Microsoft, please put the previous Black Ops games in Game Pass. Right? Like,
It's insane.
yeah, like, bit of a tangent, but I know we've talked about this for months, Logan, but like, they should have really have put a Black Ops game in Game Pass each month leading up to this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a easy win. Like you could forget about the ugly stepchild black sheep of Black Ops 3 and kick it to the curb, don't talk about it. But put on, Black Ops and Black Ops 2 and then Cold War. Like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Like the fact that they don't have those and some even the other older Call of Duties in Game Pass by now, a year plus after they finally got this done and acquired, is just, I don't know. I know corporate stuff takes a while, but come on now. Like a year plus and we only have a few Activision Blizzard King games in Game Pass. Like surely they don't have to move at a glacial pace.
Yeah, it's funny because people do want to just completely forget that Black Ops 3 happened. That's one of the 2 Call of Duty stories I haven't played, by the way. I'll get to that at some point.
Yeah, I'm not missing much.
Yeah, I mean, I only want to play it because of the sci-fi-ness, and that's it. It looks nothing like Black Ops to me. And Black Ops 4, it's kind of ironic that the only Call of Duty game that didn't launch with a campaign was the worst selling game. Like, maybe people do like the campaign after all. And, especially with the new game, that clearly shows people love this campaign. But yeah, hopefully they add those games to Game Pass soon. Now, I will say this. Campaign-only players are going to love it. I can't speak to zombies. Zombies is its own thing. I haven't played it yet. Multiplayer, though, I can't talk about. Multiplayer is so much fun. As someone that took the long break from 2011 to January this year or December last year, like that is a long time to not play Call of Duty. But Black Ops 6. My God, I'm all over the place today. Black Ops 6 is probably some of the best multiplayer fun I've had in years. Even as a single player, mainly main person, it's fun. It's fun gameplay. I will say this though, the omnidirectional movement helps. But if you playing again, the thing is, the Call of Duty fan base, they argue all the time when it comes to skill-based matchmaking, right? Now, I've never tweeted about this because I've never really understood it, but it kind of makes sense. Now, I don't understand this, and I'm quote-unquote exposing myself, right? If skill-based matchmaking exists, shouldn't I be playing against terrible players? Because
You would think,
yeah,
yes.
because I'm terrible. My God, like back in the day, I was probably top 50 in the country. Now, no, my cat could probably play better than me. I am awful, so I should be playing against people that are awful. So if people ever want to argue online about skill-based matchmaking, tell them that. Why am I being put up against people that are sliding all around all over the place like a chipmunk on acid, and I'm struggling? I'm sweating it out, trying to be tactical, aiming around corners, being careful.
Hold still.
Yeah, and then you have these players sliding around, diving all over the place, like the freaking Max Payne, and I've got no chance, right? The skill-based matchmaking clearly isn't a thing. I am joking, but I am terrible at the same time. But yeah, the multiplayer is fun. If you don't want to pay attention to kid, see, that's the thing. Call of Duty back in the day. I sound like an old fart. Back in my day in Call of Duty, we were obsessed with kill-death ratio. Like, that was the thing people talked about. Like, I was over a 2 in the original Black Ops. And now, I daren't even look. It's probably bad. Really bad. But it is fun regardless. And yes, that is Binary Domain on screen. If people haven't played it, it's a third-person, single-player, Gears of War style game that has a story that's basically like Ghost in the Shell combined with Terminator. Putting it out there, it's probably one of the best 360 games most people haven't played. And it's also
BC.
Yeah, it's BC. It's also 60 FPS on series consoles, and I'm not even kidding. I play through that game maybe every couple of months now. It's so much fun. But yeah, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, quite the package. And I will say this, it's had a huge success to the point where it's angered people. I don't make any money off Activision because of its success, but I do like seeing good games succeed, and it's the best Call of Duty in a long time. Like, Modern Warfare 3 last year shouldn't have sold as well as it did because it had next to no content. In the files on PC, people were finding that, it was called Modern Warfare 2. They brought over the maps from Modern Warfare 2 because originally it was going to be an expansion. And there was next to no content there. With this game, it's completely the opposite, and it's the first Call of Duty release I've seen in a long time where all fan bases around the game are happy. Campaign, zombies, multiplayer. Like, it is literally the best full Call of Duty experience in a long time. And especially the single-player fans, right? Single-player for that game is phenomenal. And while I did enjoy Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer, this just feels a lot more refined. And plus, you've got Nuketown. Nuketown 24/7. It's funny how people complain about how many Call of Duty maps we get each year, but the second that Nuketown only playlist comes up, oh my god, you get into a match in about milliseconds because everybody loves Nuketown, and it's probably one of the best maps ever made in my opinion. But yeah, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, huge success. 50% over 50% of the Xbox player base in the US were playing Call of Duty. That is bat crap crazy. I've never heard stats like that for a multiplayer game. Like, for what we know right now, there's around 30 to 40, let's just say 30, be safe, 30 million Xbox Series consoles out there. And a lot of them are in the US. So, like, that's millions upon millions of Xbox Series players alone playing Call of Duty day one. I've never heard numbers like that. And, you have crossplay at the minute with, multiple consoles, PC. They'll probably add Switch 2 next year. So, like, the player base has never been better and bigger for Call of Duty right now. I mean, hell, I play against PC players, on console, and I still do okay sometimes, 5% of the time. But yeah, huge success. Most played COD in hours, most played COD in matches. It's like a huge success. Like, I think we can finally take away the whole Game Pass is going to be the end of COD, and COD is going to end Game Pass. Because obviously you've been seeing that as long as me, Logan. Like, it looks like the FUD people have been throwing around for the past year and a half, 2 years is completely false.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're a boxed UK sales advocate,
Oh God.
then yeah, I think it's been doing quite well, and I'm thrilled.
My God. I'm going to rant about that for a minute. So the
It
people,
drives me nuts, and I don't even live over there.
yeah. So like, I've been telling you this for ages long. Like the physical media in the UK has been dying a slow, torturous, painful death since I want to say 2012. Um, and people might be wondering, whoa, what happened in 2012? Basically, our video game retailer Game, um, they kind of cannibalized their own company. They bought a different company called Game Station, which was a similar style of store, but if you wanted a video game, talk to someone behind the counter that actually knew what they were talking about. You could buy boxed video games, merchandise at game stations, and it was a very nice experience. Game in the UK is basically our equivalent of GameStop. Very
Oof.
corporate inspired, lots of Funko Pops. You know what I mean? Um, and basically, Game bought Game Station, turned a lot of game stations into games, and a lot of the stores were very close to each other. So literally, you'd have people just going to one store in a city centre and just completely abandon another. So they had to lay off like 50% of the staff, close down more than 50% of the stores, to the point where my city hasn't had a video game store for 10 years. Like, that's crazy. Um, and like physical media, like if people do buy physical games, they either buy it from a supermarket, and a lot of supermarkets tend to don't they don't really sell video games that much. If they do, it's either FIFA and COD sometimes, GTA if that's ever a thing again. Um, but people tend to buy physical games off Amazon, and it's been like that for well over a decade now. But digital media has grown a lot in the UK, especially for games. Some places stopped selling DVDs, Blu-rays. By the way, how the hell are DVDs still outselling Blu-rays?
That makes no sense.
Like I assume it's the same in the US, right?
Yeah, I still see DVDs for sale, but I think in the US Blu-ray is ahead of DVDs, but I do see DVDs for sale. But 4K has been really, really taking the swing momentum.
Yeah. I mean, if people are buying Dune Part 2 on DVD, that's an insult to the bloody film. Like, why? Um, but yeah, physical media has been dying a long time in the UK. So when I see people bringing up the boxed copies, like it doesn't make sense, right? Because again, like PlayStation fans are more physical centric for in general. I've noticed, and like who really cares? Why do these journalists care about how many physical copies sell in the UK on which platform? Because look, PlayStation have a digital console. They've had a digital console for 4 years. Xbox now has two digital only consoles. And we wonder, like, the Xbox Series S has been outselling the X for most of the time, and it's digital only. So what the hell do people think? You know, they never mention that. You have Linus Tech Tips come out there, like showing a picture of him trying to put a disc in a discless console. We haven't seen that for other discless consoles. I don't know. But yeah, that whole narrative's just stupid. Like Game Pass is clearly fine. I think people that's been running around saying it's going to be the end of Game Pass, like for some reason, journalists and just people online forget that Game Pass has been around since 2017. Like I know it sounds surprising when you say it out loud, but 2017 that's a long time for Game Pass to be out for, and it's still here, it's succeeding, and while I don't make a penny off it, but the more money Game Pass makes, the more games I'm gonna get. Just being real about it. But yeah, Call of Duty, big success. I just think that hopefully the FUD can just calm down a bit. Like we don't have to concern troll something every day online. Like everything's fine. Anyway, we'll move on. Now, Logan, I know you wanted to talk about. Oh no. Uh, you know what? Screw it. Let's talk about the Xbox handheld, because this has been an ongoing thing for what, like multiple years now, where people think there's going to be a handheld and all this stuff. You know, Sarah Bond at any opportunity mentions portable gaming, and I'm always sitting there thinking, are you saying what I think you're saying? Because that's the thing about Microsoft at the minute. Like, Phil Spencer can talk on a camera and have a shelf behind him, and we're at a point now where we have to inspect the shelf. We have to know. We have to look out for what T-shirt are they wearing. What's the image on the T-shirt? Could that be a hint at something? Because everything that's happened in the past has been one of those things. StarCraft T-shirt, oh yeah, led to a new like StarCraft rumor getting a shooter, and ports to Game Pass and all that stuff. The constant, oh yeah, the Xbox Series S was hidden on a shelf. The Stream Box was hidden on a shelf, but they didn't actually launch with it. But like, we have to watch out for everything Microsoft does now. But at every opportunity, they mention bloody portable gaming. And I know, Logan, something came out today about the portable, right?
Yeah, there was on Xbox too, Jazz and Rand. Jazz was saying that some little birdies had told him to be on the lookout for some stuff next year, and that there's a good chance for hardware next year, and the type that would fit in your hand, and for Xbox, and you put that two and two as a clever little wink, wink, nudge, nudge about handheld, and that their initiatives that they've been trying to talk about, Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, have been adamant in public about their desire for handheld and building more of a portable ecosystem. You see other folks in Xbox involved with hardware and cloud and other stuff testing out LG cloud devices, Lenovo Goes, ROG Allies, all those other ones. You see them, posting screens of them on the road with their portable stuff. And, part of that's obviously for fun and stuff, but also you have to think these people have been doing their homework quite a bit and have been studying up on what all's out there, how's it function, how could they improve some things, tweak some things, make things better. There's already talk about, for Halo's, anniversary, there could be some stuff. I think for 2025, it does seem more likely than not we're going to get the reveal of the handheld.
Yeah, it will be interesting because, so by the looks of it, looks like we're getting a handheld next year and the next gen console in 26.
Works for me.
Yeah,
Stagger it.
yeah. If it's true that they aren't going to release a Series S style box this time, yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what does an official Xbox handheld looks like? Because, like, I think we could all admit by now, it's been 11 years. The Xbox One was clearly over-designed. It its shell was made of like 20 different panels. Some were matte plastic.
Titanium.
Yeah, some were glossy plastic. Some were chrome pieces of plastic. And you had two different shapes of grill on the console. And if you opened up an Xbox One, like, I'm not even kidding, like 90% of the space inside was just empty space because Microsoft over-engineered it, thinking like they were concerned about the red ring of death situation again. But thankfully, with the One S, the One X, the Series consoles, like, they clearly have a very competent hardware team when it comes to making something sleek. And like, I'm just wondering, like, what does a premium handheld look like? Is it going to look more like a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally as opposed to a Switch? Which I think they'll probably go for the ROG thing because Phil Spencer talks about the ROG every 5 seconds. So I think that's what they're going for. I have seen some confusion online about like what will this be and I've seen some journalists mention this, by the way, about how this shouldn't be an Xbox native handheld and it should be a PC handheld. And I think that would be the dumbest thing Xbox could ever do because you're marketing the Xbox brand hardware to Xbox gamers. so it should play games natively, Xbox games on this new handheld. Now, could there be a an app so you can stream your Epic games or your Steam games? Absolutely, but we have to admit this has to be a main Xbox piece of hardware that plays Xbox games first, right?
Oh, 100%. That would, short of declaring war on a fan base, that'd be pretty high up there. It would be completely ludicrous to make an Xbox device console, portable console, and make it where you can't play actual Xbox games on it. Like, what are you even doing at that point? Like, I get the idea of making maybe your next gen main console kind of have access to some PC stores or whatever, along with Xbox Store and the interface being a little different. But for a portable console to play your games natively, imagine, you talk about your backwards compatibility, your forward compatibility, all this. The idea of trying to sell a new device and basically like, hey, here's a ROG Ally, but we'll call it an Xbox something. But here's the selling point. You don't actually get to play your Xbox games on it. You have to play PC games. It's like, then why wouldn't I just buy a Steam Deck and be done with it? Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, I mentioned this because I have seen a particular big journalist talk about how the Xbox handheld doesn't need to play Xbox games, and I just thought, like, have you not been covering gaming for like a large portion of your life? Like, can you imagine the reaction online if Xbox announced a handheld tomorrow that doesn't play Xbox
Pitchforks,
games? Yeah,
torches.
yeah, we'll see the pitchforks, we'll see the people posting pictures of the console in the bin like we see every 6 months. The doom and gloom thing would happen again. Like, by the way, I do think it will be a native handheld. Like, Microsoft has made some silly decisions in the past. This won't be one of them. Um, I'm just excited to see what it'll look like. Will it use a slightly different UI? But if you look at the Xbox dashboard, it would kind of be suited to a touchscreen anyway. Um, I think it's exciting. I think the Steam Deck proved that you can be a handheld that isn't made by Nintendo and have huge success. Steam
Mhm.
came, or should I say, Valve came out, I think, last week and said they have no intention of doing a new Steam Deck anytime soon. So, like, they want to do the whole, full generations with that piece of hardware. They're not doing different iterations like what ROG's doing and the other PC handhelds that seem to be coming out with a new one every 5 seconds. But hey, it looks like that will be happening next year. Will they announce it at the Game Awards? I
I
think they.
hope not, personally.
Yeah, I think putting too much emphasis on on handheld right now would be a bit too much. Like, let people talk about the games that are out right now. Focus on the series consoles. They still need these consoles to sell for a couple of years, and we don't know what the entry point is going to be like next gen. I just think they need to be crystal clear about what the handhelds can do. They need to be crystal clear that it is in fact aimed at Xbox players, and they also need to come out and show that, hey, this cool handheld is actually backwards compatible with the library you already own. Because I've seen some wild theories about how people would like have cartridges of Xbox games. It's like, that's not going to happen. Would it be cool, hypothetically, to have little tiny Xbox cartridges? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. And I'd just buy Mass Effect Legendary Edition all over again. I think it would be cool, but like, be real, it's gonna be an Xbox ROG/Switch, and you're gonna play your digitally owned games. No disk drive, obviously, and I think that's fine. I think it'll do really well. I will say this though, and there's been a lot of talk about the price situation. I think Sony coming out pricing their Pro at $700. Um, I think Microsoft should really not look at that 700 because we've had new consoles at $500 for what, 3 consoles now. Like, nobody should be touching the $700 mark for a console. Like maybe it's because I'm in the UK and it works out as $914. Like Logan, what's the reaction in the US to the $700 price?
People thought it was just south of extortion. So I can't imagine the paying your price for a console and then having to buy a disc drive or stand for it. Like that's another thing is I truly hope if the hardware team is listening, and I hope they are, please, I know not everybody uses physical. I know it is like lower on the threshold of concerns, but please, you have a commitment to backwards compatibility. You have a commitment to forwards compatibility. Like it has to work in a way to where you're not royally screwing over your loyal fan base who's been with you since OG or 360 or 1 that has physical libraries to where they get a next gen console and it's like, "Oh yeah, I can play them if you have it only digitally. If you have it, physically, well, tough luck." Um Rub some dirt on it. Like, no, that does not sit well. Like, please just make it standard. I know it costs a little money, but I think the goodwill and the commitment to your fan base it would bring would be far more worth that and be far better vibes than shaving some pennies off of each console because you don't want to put a disk drive in it. Or if you for some reason are just heck bent on it not having a disk drive for some reason, some crazy reason, then at least have the decency to give people an attachment one that they can use for it. Because if you completely just neuter anything to do with discs, like that KOs a whole bunch of library for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, physical media and this. By the way, none of the like journalists really talk about this. Uh, Physical media for backwards compatibility makes most sense for Xbox out of all the competitors. Right?
Exactly.
PlayStation doesn't have native backwards compatibility with PlayStation 1, 2, or 3. Switch, well, I think it would be a bit difficult to put a DVD in a Switch. Um,
Mhm.
but like for Xbox, it makes sense. Like I can go to my shelf right now and put KOTOR in, and it works. Uh, like it is an option, and plus, like we know for a fact, USB Blu-ray drives are a thing, and they aren't that expensive. And despite what some companies tell you, USB Blu-ray drives do not cost $100 to make. They just don't. If anything, they cost like 15 to make, so they should sell them for about 30 or 40 max. Um, but it should just be an option, yeah. I mean, like considering what they're doing with the digital Series X, like it should just be an option that you put underneath. Why not? They wouldn't be missing out on much. And I think would if anyone with a digital Series X or the equivalent of next generation, would they really be complaining if the Xbox console was a few inches higher off the table because they had a disk drive underneath? I don't think anyone would really care. Like, not really. These consoles are big as it is. Nobody cares. Just give people options. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? Let's talk about this quickly because it angered people, and I've already had questions about like why is this in the title? And that is Yoshi-P from Square Enix came out and said that they want to do and will do more day-and-date games when it comes to multi-platform games. So even when it comes to just PC stuff in the past, they've staggered out games. So a game will launch on PlayStation, then a year later on PC. That is horrifically bad for marketing. It's horrifically bad because they have to market a game twice, and it's just not good for anyone. And now with them committing to Xbox as well, and obviously they'll do the same with Switch 2 at some point, we are going to start seeing more day-and-date games across Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. And that's a big win for everyone. Look at Sega. Sega basically came out the other day and talked about how Red Dead Redemption's launch across like the consoles and then PC was done horrifically bad. And like Sega's had an unbelievable amount of success this year. They came out of the gate swinging with Persona 3 Reload. They had smaller titles like Unicorn Overlord. They had Shin Megami Tensei 5 launch on other consoles. Basically, full multi-platform release. They've had a huge success with Metaphor V Fantasio. They had bloody Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. You know, they are on a roll right now. And basically, everything I just mentioned has cracked like 1 million copies sold. And they've just talked about like, hey, it's multi-platform releases, including Xbox. And I think Square Enix, they're finally learning. And I get it, actions speak louder than words. People want Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's the big one, really. You know, I want 16 to come over. I do think 16 will be on Xbox in the next 6 months. I do think that could be a Game Awards announcement. Kind of makes sense. You know, apparently the port for that is already in the works. But like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think is the big one because like Seven's a household name. A lot of people that are listening, I can almost guarantee that maybe you played Final Fantasy VII as a kid. You know, a lot of people played that as a kid. It's probably the biggest, you know, game in the franchise that most people know about. And you have this remake that's locked to one console. That's just no. Nobody wants that. And I think, you know, Square Enix, like, look, them locking Final Fantasy off to one console isn't benefiting anyone, right? You have people that's going to do list wars on Twitter. You're going to have people that talk about roadmaps and just post about third-party releases. Like, Square Enix should be a full multi-platform company, like EA. You don't see EA making stupid deals. You don't see Ubisoft making stupid deals, you know? Yes, they made exclusives for Nintendo when it comes to the Mario Rabbids games, but we all know because, you know, those are exclusive IPs. But like when it comes to these publishers, there's something about Final Fantasy that really, really angers people and makes them freak out. Like hell, again, I was questioned literally seconds into this podcast starting, why is Final Fantasy coming to Xbox in the title? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy. And by the way, one, it's in the title because Cloud is literally in the thumbnail, and it's a topic which we're talking about. So yes, it's going to be in. See, that's what I'm talking about. The crazies, right? The fact that it's mentioned that it's in the title. Just text. No games came over yet. I'm being asked about a title. There's no clickbait. I don't do any of that stuff, but I'm being asked about it. It's like there's something about Final Fantasy that sets people off, and it drives me nuts because it shouldn't be an issue, and it clearly is. Logan, I've been talking non-stop for about 3 minutes and I need to breathe. Like, what's your take on this? Because it looks like the ball is rolling, more titles are going to come, and for some reason people still want to make it seem like it's not going to happen.
yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure you're familiar with The Simpsons, and you know the meme where Bart is in the classroom, and then they all turn around and they're like, "Say the phrase," and then he says something, and then they all celebrate, and he's all sad.
Yeah.
Like that was Square Enix with failed to meet expectations. Like it was that for a long time. It literally became a meme. Like anytime a game came out, it's like, oh, just waiting for that financial report where they're gonna tell me it failed to meet expectations. And lo and behold, it did. Like we've discussed that ad nauseum. We don't need to revisit that again. But point is, they have all but come out and said that yeah, we royally screwed up making these deals, these exclusive deals for these games to be held on other platforms or to be exclusively not on certain platforms. Like, it hurt us. It hurt us bad. And now we're finally reaping what we sowed. We finally learned. We're doing better. We're making everything across the slate going forward on multi-plat if possible. And yes, it's a no-brainer. Like, they could just look literally down the street and Sega and Atlas and Capcom and all these other companies that have embraced multiplat are like raking in so much profit and money now because they actually are making things available to everyone. Like Sega's catalog in particular has gone supernova. Like Metaphor on Xbox and the Persona games, the Yakuza games, they sell like gangbusters on Xbox and they're doing awesome. And who knew that more people having access to games meant more people would buy them and play them? I know it's mind blowing, but apparently it's true. And also putting some of these in Game Pass even creates more of an interest to where it's like, huh, I had never played a Persona game before, but I really like this. You know what? I loved it so much that even though Metaphor isn't in Game Pass, I like Atlas now, so I'm going to buy Metaphor day one just on reputation alone from how much I love their other stuff. Like, there was a lot of that. Like, it's just a no brainer. These people, it's like a cult about Final Fantasy. It is literally like insane. And that's why I always tweet that moth gif every time you post something about Final Fantasy because I know within 30 minutes you're going to get several posts of avatar accounts being so mad that you dare had the audacity to bring up Final Fantasy on another platform. Like, how could you? You've committed blasphemy and treason. You have, sinned against the platform gods or whatever. It's just, it's funny, man. At the end of the day, it's games. And yes, Final Fantasies are coming. All the other games are coming that are in development. Hopefully, we get some older games as well, like even some of the less popular ones, like Valkyrie or, Tactics, some of the other stuff. Please bring them over. Bring over, like, Parasite Eve and some of the ancient stuff as well. I'd love to play them on Xbox. I'd buy a straight up port. Just, I. Square Enix is back at my good graces. It took a long time, but you know what? Square Enix is proof that redemption is possible. So, you know, standing ovation for Square Enix. They learned their lesson.
Yeah, I mean they're learning, which is a good thing. I just think people are really waiting on a big. I think if they launch, which I do think they will, um, if they launch Final Fantasy 16 on Xbox in the next 6 months, I think that'll like really make people think, okay, they are committed, because that is one of the big ones. We've had smaller games announced, and Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D comes out this month, which
Beautiful.
yeah, beautiful looking game, voice acted game as well. Tons of quality of life features and stuff. Looks fantastic. But that's going to be a big game for Square Enix. And yeah, it's just good to see because they are learning, which is great. And by the way, there are people that can see my posts now that were blocked. Um,
They're coming for you.
yeah, and I will say this, if people have seen the interactions I get on Twitter, like I'm perfectly fine talking to everyone. I try to reply to everyone. But like the reason I block people on Twitter is not because of disagreements. It's because I don't want people wasting my time. And the reason I have so many people blocked is because a lot of people seem to just want to waste my time. So like if like I do block people because they can't do it anymore, and now they can see my posts. So if anyone's listening that is going to start looking at my posts because even though they're blocked, they can see my posts now. You're weird. You're a weirdo. Stop being weird and a stalker. And like even in the past, like I've posted so many like just random AI generated images of Cloud holding an Xbox controller just to see what the reaction would be online. and legitimate anger ensues. Like anger just off a dude that doesn't exist holding an Xbox controller. And like there's something just specific about Final Fantasy as a franchise that sets people off. I just don't get it. Anyway, we'll move on. But more games are coming. Now, what have we got? Let's see, my phone won't unlock. Okay, we'll quickly go over this. So, Perfect Dark is getting a new creative director, and it's the guy that was working on the Wolverine. Now, we don't really have any information other than that, but it is someone from Insomniac that has a lot of experience making AAA games. I will say this, from what we saw from Perfect Dark earlier this year, I loved what I saw. It was a first-person shooter with immersive sim elements, which we don't have a lot of in games now, like in the sci-fi space, should I say. So this isn't good or bad news to me. It's just like, yeah, we'll see. I already liked the game that we saw. This can't hurt. Like, Logan, what's your take? Because for me, it's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that a Wolverine director has gone over to Perfect Dark. I mean, we haven't seen Wolverine or outside of the leaks that were out and stuff, like we haven't seen actual gameplay, like normal, like far along ready to go stuff. So take with a grain of salt, the reveal and stuff, but someone working at an established, well-known studio going to another makes news. And Perfect Dark is obviously one that's hyped and people are really excited for. So somebody coming from a Sony studio to an Xbox studio to work on it certainly gets attention. And I'm just curious to see what it does. Like, I have no major expectations one way or another. I just found it interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this, like, when it comes to like Microsoft's games in the past, like they don't. I'm trying to think how I can put this. Like, Sony's games tend to have like third person cinematic action sequences, right? Set pieces. Microsoft's games typically don't. So I'd be wondering, like, are they gonna get things like that now in Perfect Dark? Because as I think as a franchise, Perfect Dark would be suited for that. Uh, but if they're getting a new creative director now, it's like, how far along is the game? That's my main question. Because like
That's a good point.
because I love the original Perfect Dark. I think Perfect Dark Zero was, it's a fine game. Uh, it like them bringing back the franchise now. Like, hell, if you watch the trailer at the end, it doesn't even say Xbox Series consoles. It just says Perfect Dark. So like maybe that's like a next gen game, and that wouldn't surprise me. Again, no date for that title. Who knows? You know what? Let's quickly talk about. Oh, this is a big one. So, Halo. Now, if you're a Halo fan like me, but you specifically play single player content, uh, we haven't had much content to play in years. We had the campaign, and that's it. Unlucky me. I would have loved single player expansions and spin offs. Well, it looks like Sledgehammer Games may actually be working on a new Halo game. So we already know that Halo Studios, or formerly 343 Industries, are now making multiple Halo games. And like I said earlier today on Boomstick's podcast, like, Halo is a big enough franchise to the point where we should be getting spin offs regularly. Halo doesn't have to be a one game every 3 to 5 years franchise. Like, we should be getting spin offs. And Sledgehammer Games actually makes a lot of sense for Halo as a spin off, because a spin off wouldn't necessarily need multiplayer. Sledgehammer Games are perfectly capable and have a lot of experience making single player first person shooters. And they've made Call of Duty before, so they clearly know what they're doing with big action set pieces, mission design in a linear style. So, like, for me, I 100% believe this. One of the biggest things what Microsoft could have gotten when picking up Activision was the collaboration between studios and IP. That's one of the things I wanted. I still want Machine Games to make a Halo spin-off using id Tech, right? That's something I want. They just added the third person Halo stuff to Halo Infinite multiplayer. So like, who knows what we could see from Sledgehammer Games? They are perfectly capable at making single player stories. So like, I honestly think this is happening. I don't think Microsoft want Halo to be a one game every 5 years thing. It's too big of an IP to do that. And I think a bunch of these studios right now are beginning to realize that maybe we shouldn't be putting out one game a decade, because that's what we're getting to right now. You know, what do you call him? I forgot the dude's name over at Xbox. Matt Booty talked about how AAA game development is now, 5 to 6 years. Like, that is crazy. And I think that's one of the big things about Microsoft having so many studios underneath their belt. They can make multiple games in each franchise and not have to wait one, you know, decade in between games. Like, think about this. How old are we all going to be when Fallout 5 launches? Like,
Well, that depends on if we have ghoul skin by then.
yeah, probably. But like that's scary to think about. Like, I don't want to think about that. Here's a scary one. How old are we all going to be when GTA 7 launches?
Oh gosh, like life support.
Yeah, like that game's going to
Oh my
be
god.
coming out in what, 2040? Yeah, 2040.
Oh,
Oh god, it's depressing. But yeah, I think that this is actually happening. There's been rumors in the past that Microsoft are working with other studios to make Halo content. I think Certain Affinity are apparently working with Microsoft on Halo content. So like, Microsoft is clearly gearing up to have Halo come back as a more regular franchise, which I'm all for it. Again, Halo is too big for one game every 5 years. Like, what's all the Halo content we've had since what Halo 5 came out, right? We've had Halo Infinite, we've had the Halo TV show, and that's it. So that's not much to go on for a big IP. One of the biggest franchises in the world. Uh, Logan, what's your take? Because it looks like Sledgehammer Games could actually be making Halo stuff.
I find it exciting. Like, rewind a couple of years to or a year or so before the leadership purge at 343. There was a lot of anger and resentment towards how they had handled some things, and people thought that there needed to be change of leadership or direction, or take Halo away from 343 and give it to somebody else. And something that had been brought up repeatedly was the idea of some Activision Call of Duty studios taking a crack at Halo. Like, clearly they're experts at the shooter, um, mechanics, franchises, storytelling. They know how to make a spectacle. Like, imagine a Michael Bay type Halo thing. Like, they could totally do that kind of stuff. So the idea that they are working on a Halo, either a mainline or a spinoff or whatever it may be, either way is music to my ears. Can't wait for it. And part of me wonders if that is a reason why the name was changed from 343 to Halo Studios, not just studio. Like, they are working, like maybe they serve as like the quote council, or like the canon consultants or whatever, like where they do some core Halo stuff, but they also work with other studios and make sure everything is in accordance to some guidelines, quote unquote, kind of like the Lucasfilm canon group or whatever, or like the Marvel MCU canon people or whatever, and to where you can get an ODST too, or you can get that Flood horror game that everybody's been wanting, or like a Halo RPG, or like a Halo type game with maybe not Master Chief but somebody else. Like, give Locke another chance, like somebody else. And or they could do like a Master Chief thing, but not a what you would typically expect for Halo. Like, I totally see it happening.
Yeah. I think when it comes to Halo, people just want more. Halo was. I don't understand why that didn't like take off. Uh, More
Yeah,
than it
I
did.
want a third one.
Yeah, and by the way, did you see the leaks for what they had planned for the third game?
Yeah, the space
Yeah,
campaign combat sounded awesome.
yeah. And like again, as someone that used to nerd out a lot over Star Trek Armada 1 and 2 and Homeworld 1 and 2, uh, I was borderline salivating at the idea of Halo space combat RTS games. Like,
Same. It sounded badass. It
yeah,
sounded awesome.
and like, by the way, if people are interested, there is a Battlestar Galactica space RTS available on Xbox. Uh, Check it out. But yeah, like space RTS games are really rare, even rarer on console, and the fact that we almost had that. Again, Halo's big enough that we should be getting spin-offs. Remember that Halo Mega Bloks game?
I'm still angry
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, that looked super fun. And apparently, if you're on PC, there's ways to play that. Allegedly, um, have at it. But yeah, like Halo should be like multiple different genres. Like I would love a third person. This will surprise people. Mass Effect 3 style game when it comes to combat. Weighty third person. Maybe plays Fireteam Osiris. I would love that. I just think
Oh,
that
I could totally see that with like Oni
yeah,
missions or like all kinds of. Yeah, I could totally see that.
it's a big enough, really interesting world that like so many different stories they can tell. Like it just like I love Master Chief. Master Chief's one of my favorite characters, and I obviously hope he'll be the main character of the next main Halo game. But we don't just need, I would love to play as Buck. You know, the fact that they made him
Oh,
as
love him.
yeah,
He's so great.
the fact that they made him a Spartan in Halo 5, like that is one of the biggest things Microsoft, 343 did, like make him a full-on Spartan. And if you play, you know, Halo 3 ODST, he's badass. He's like one of the best like characters in the entire franchise, and they made him a side character in Halo 5 where he should have had a bigger part. Like it was a really big shame that Nathan Fillion didn't play a bigger role in that game. Like what were they thinking? I just want more Halo. And again, if you're a Halo single player fan like me, we haven't had much to go on. Like, I'm combing the desert and we ain't found anything. And like again, I haven't watched the Halo TV show, so I can't really speak about it. But like Halo media, it's kind of non-existent at the minute. You know, remember 20 years ago? Not even 20 years ago. What? 17 years ago or whatever. Like Halo 3 was at the top of the world, not because it was just an amazing game. There was no other multiplayer shooter on console that was big like that. You know, this was like before Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1. Before it took off and basically took away the players and stuff because it's easy to play. But like Halo was like the mainstay of gaming. The fact that Bill Gates was handing out the first like Xbox 360 or first copy of Halo 3 out in like a GameStop in Times Square. Like Halo was at the top of the world, and there are people that will blame 343. It's not 343. It's the fact that gaming changed. People blamed Sprint, and like think about this: Sprint has been in Halo longer than it wasn't. That'll make some people cry. Because, by the way, I still get people on Twitter that are angry that Sprint is in Halo. Like,
You're a super soldier.
yeah, super soldiers can only walk a mild pace, and the thing. Oh, I'm just going there. Why is it Master Chief could sprint in cutscenes and climb into a scorpion tank, but he can't climb ledges and he can't run while you play the game?
Or drop from orbit
Yeah,
and be just fine.
like it's crazy. Like, let me be a super soldier that's actually a super soldier. I always used to call the older Halo games RoboCop games because you essentially walk. Like, you are RoboCop. Like, yes, the fantasy of Master Chief is really cool. You know, you're this badass, like, space marine dude, but, like, you are slow, essentially. And if you play the older Halo games, it feels like you're walking in, like, molasses. You shouldn't be doing that. Imagine watching the Avengers, like, movies, but Captain America could only walk a brisk pace. It wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't. It wouldn't
Oh my
exactly be that epic now, would it? But yeah, Halo. It needs to be a bigger franchise than it is right now, and it can be. You know, to think we nearly got a Halo movie directed by Neil Blomkamp. Right?
That is an all-time fail
Yeah,
that didn't happen.
and the fact that we got District 9 out of the remnants of that is fantastic. But still, like, we almost had a gem of a Halo movie come out. It's just, I don't understand how you have this franchise that could be way bigger than it is. It just isn't, and I think it will be.
It's a Rolls Royce,
Yeah,
and they treat it like a Malibu. Like, come on now. Like, I don't know if you know like U.S. car brands, but
yeah,
like, you know, it's your crown jewel. Like, treat it like it. Don't do what they're doing.
yeah. And we'll quickly go over this. So Black Ops 6 is now out. People are loving it. It's in Game Pass, huge success. People have been wondering, like, where's the back catalog Activision games? There's a lot there. From True Crime back in the day to Prototype to Singularity and all that stuff. And my theory is that Microsoft is wanting 100% of the eyes when it comes to Game Pass on Black Ops, because Black Ops is essentially a vessel for microtransactions, right? You have people buying operator packs. Hell, I've talked about this before. Every time I play Warzone Resurgence, 50 people drop dressed up as Homelander, right? That's a lot of premium skins, and especially if you have half of Xbox Live when it comes to Xbox Series players in the US, playing this vessel for microtransactions, I can only think that, like, Black Ops 6 alone is going to make multiples of billions of dollars, right? Crazy amounts of money. And I think that Microsoft is 100% saving the back catalog stuff for maybe January or February to kick off 2025. Could that be wishful thinking? Maybe. But I think, being realistic about it, like, Black Ops is pushing consoles right now. It's pushing subscriptions, and that's what Microsoft wants most. Logan, what's your take? Because again, this past week, people have been asking a lot about backwards compatible and back catalog games.
Yeah, I support that notion of it being a way to kick off the new year. Of course, I would love to have them yesterday, but um, I absolutely want the back catalog to come to Game Pass, be made backwards compatible. Like, let me put in my Singularity disc and let's go. But yeah, I know these things take time. I'm a patient guy, but like, please, like, if as soon as they get those available, I'd be euphoric dancing in the streets. So that's my biggest wish from the whole Activision thing is that back catalog coming forward, StarCraft being revived and, bringing these games forward. And, some of the pieces are moving and some, things are in motion, it seems like. But the back compat thing is still one that I really, really, really want and strongly desire to happen soon.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I think January is because February is a packed month. Like, I put it like this, it is, November 2024, and I'm not even kidding, February is packed to the brim with releases. Like, those videos I make of upcoming releases, February's already full. I've already got a list of 20 games coming out in February, and a lot of them are major AAA titles. So, like, as including Avowed. So, like, I think January would be safe for a bunch of back catalog and Activision games, especially for, like, Game Pass and stuff. And plus, like, maybe this is port begging, but, like, people really want those Transformers games. It's been long enough, and we've had these quote unquote leaks, and I've tried to find out if they're real or not. But apparently, like Microsoft are working on 2 Transformers projects. I can't 100% guarantee if that's real or not, because the unfortunate thing is when it comes to rating classifications, you can have trolls that can sometimes put through these forms, allegedly. So like, who knows what's going to happen? But I do think and I hope that Microsoft's saving stuff for January, because I put it like this: January this year, Microsoft didn't have a good month. If people remember, like
Hmm.
January was a mess when it came to all the messaging and that stuff. But if they start like 2025 with, hey, we obviously have this lineup of games coming out through the year, but also in the meantime, in between releases, you're gonna get these Activision games in the service. And also, I think it's important for Microsoft to maybe not lure uh, multiplayer players away from Black Ops 6, because look, when Black Ops 2 gets put in Game Pass, millions will flock to it, because
That's true.
Black Ops 2 specifically has a huge, huge fan base. And people just like, the pick 10 system. The multiplayer was really satisfying. And to the point where, like, a lot of Call of Duty content creators still use Black Ops 2 footage because, again, it's a good game. Uh, like, when they fixed the servers for Black Ops 1 multiplayer, like, I'm not even kidding. Black Ops was #1 trending in the UK, a 360 game, and over 100,000 people were playing a game that came out in 2011. So, like,
Man, it's been that long.
yeah,
Jeez.
actually, no, 2010. So, like, it's been a long time.
15 years.
Yeah,
Good grief.
like, that's a lot of Call of Duties. But yeah, I think Microsoft. Hopefully, they get that stuff sorted. But let's look at Microsoft before we close out the show for next year. They're coming out with Fable, possibly State of Decay 3. Um, I'm drawing a blank here. Bloody hell! While we're live, uh,
Avowed.
what'd you say?
Avowed is
Avowed.
next year.
Yeah, I don't know what's with me today. I think it's because I'm sick. Anyway, Avowed, Fable, maybe State of Decay 3, South of Midnight. Next year and we still don't know anything about Gears, E-Day yet. Who knows what's happening with that? But like, next year is looking very promising, and like, again, the handheld rumor, if that's next year, like, next year is going to be a pretty good year for Microsoft. And we still have rumors of things like the Oblivion 3 remaster and the Fallout 3 remaster coming out. So, like, next year is potentially going to be absolutely stacked for video games. Logan, have you got anything else you want to go over before we close out the show?
Um, just last calls for just again. I would love the a BC batch soon or early next year. That would be great. I totally didn't even think about the multiplayer component of it detracting from Black Ops 6, so that does make sense for maybe delaying some of those. But yeah, just as soon as they can, I would be thrilled. The disk drive, please make it happen for next gen. And we've already talked StarCraft. Like, come on now, please. And yeah, life's good. Be kind to each other, and there are far bigger things to worry about than games and what platforms they're on. So just enjoy your life, enjoy your friends, and go play some games.
Yeah, I mean, like we said at the beginning of the show, no mention of the election stuff. But hey, I think everyone's going to be fine. It's been a weird one this time around because, like, especially on the UK news, but like, elections tend to be covered like worldwide. But this one specifically, it's all over the place. I want my cat videos and my video games on my feed. Like, that's all I ask for. Hell, when it comes to UK politics, I don't even talk about that crap either because it's stupid. It doesn't make sense and it's boring. And in the end, everyone's a loser. Um, I mean, bloody hell, people are getting invested for memes. Anyway, oh yeah, when it comes to the multiplayer stuff, like I mentioned for Black Ops 2, Black Ops 2, Black Ops, the original Modern Warfare games, if you really think about it, those are Call of Duty games that do not have microtransactions. Like, that's weird to think. Call of Duty never used to have microtransactions. So, like, that's one of the main reasons why I think Microsoft doesn't want to put any games in the service yet, because, you have people right now buying Homelander, buying, Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, so they can run around, Warzone and stuff. Well, you can't do that with Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Like, back then, you were buying map packs. That's how you supported the game post-launch. Crazy to think. Things have changed, unfortunately. Anyway, everyone in chat has been amazing. We'll be back again for another episode of All Things Xbox Podcast next week, same time, maybe a little bit earlier, depending on what's going on with my schedule, because things are a bit messy, but we'll get that sorted. The link to my previous video, 20 biggest new games coming to Xbox Series X and S in November and December. It's a combined video this time. Highly recommend people check it out. Took way too long to edit, and I'm sick, so it took even longer. But yeah, if you want to check that out, the link is in the description. The link to our Twitters is also in the description down below. I am also on Threads and Blue Sky. I'm going to mess all these up. But I can't put the links in the description down below. So I'm Jamie Moran on Blue Sky and Jamie Moran on Threads. I try and post on all three, but I'm mainly on Twitter. And Logan is pretty much only Twitter. Only Twitter, is that right, Logan?
Yeah, for the moment, I might join one of those alternatives as well, but I'm like the orchestra on the Titanic. I'm going down with the ship, I guess.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I have no intention of ever leaving Twitter. I'm signed up for life, basically. I just think Threads is nice because there's a lot of people on Threads interacting with each other. Not as much as Twitter. I will say this: Blue Sky, when it comes to functionality, is almost exactly like Twitter. The only downside is there's only like 13 million people on Blue Sky, so there's next to no one talking in each genre. So, like, there's next to no community on there, right? Or community interaction, shall I say. And I think that can change. Again, it's still early days, but Twitter is where it's at. And again, I know people have left Twitter due to, all the stuff that's going on right now, some gaming stuff. Hell, there's people in the gaming community that left the Twitter space back in like January. They're just kind of gone missing because of everything that happened. And that's a shame, Miss talking to those people. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling about social media. Again, the link's in the description down below, as well as the link to my previous video. Hope everyone has a good night. Be safe out there. It is November 5th, so there are fireworks and all that nonsense. It looks pretty, but it scares my cat. Anyway, we out, everybody. Peace.